All right, welcome, welcome. Let's talk about triggers. Today we are going to set up a simple trigger system, which we're just going to create a chest that's closed, and then we're going to walk up to a trigger and hit the F button and make that chest open. All right, so let's get started. So go into your new project, create an empty project. Just call it triggers. Just call it trigger. Trigger. I like trigger, not the horse trigger. Okay. So let's start out by creating a folder. Let's call it chest. And we're going to use this folder to house everything for the animations. So basically we're going to put the objects, the open chest and the closed chest in here, and the script in here, and the trigger in here. And that's all we need. And we're just going to use this to keep it nice, neat, and pretty. And that way when we move this around, everything moves around with it. Okay? Makes sense? Good. All right, here we go. Chest. So let's find a chest. Open chest. Let's use that. Let's use the closed one. Drag it in there. So these are all childs of the chest folder. We're going to need a trigger. Drop that inside the chest folder. And then we're going to need a script. New script. Let's just call it chest. Alright, and then we're going to drag that over into there as well. Alright, so now if we double click inside a chest, bring it up, we have an empty folder. We have an empty script, empty chest script, so we're going to start putting some logic in there. So basically what we want to do in this script is we need to reference the chest, open, the chest closed, and the trigger. We need to reference those in the script so that we can access these objects outside of the script, right? Makes sense? So let's go ahead and you click on the chest script, right? And then if you drag into the bottom empty area here, it creates a custom property. It basically makes a reference to these objects. So let's go ahead and do that. So we drag the trigger in. Let's drag in the chest big closed, chest big opened. And then you should see 3 references there to all of our world objects here. Perfect. Okay, so let's open chest script up again. Sorry, my bad. Let's go ahead and right click and select all. This is an easy way, copy and put this in your chest script. That's an easy way to get these references from here into your script, right? I don't like these names, so let's just change this to trigger. These can be anything you want. You don't have to name them this. This is just like default from the engine. It creates these for you, but you can name this trigger. You can name this. We're gonna rename this. That's too long, way too long. Let's just do chest closed, right? And then let's do chest opened. Okay. Let's just save all this. Save the script. Move this out of the way. Let's click play, and you can see it looks kind of weird, right? Because we have 2 chests, the one open and one closed, and that's how we're going to create the animation. We're going to want to walk up to this chest, and when we hit the trigger, it's going to prompt us to click the F button, which we will use to activate the chest opening. And basically all we're going to do is we're just going to hide the big chest closed. We're going to hide the visibility on that, and we're going to turn on the visibility of the open chest, right? So let's start with turning off big chest opened, right? So click on big chest opened, and go over to visibility and force off. That way it doesn't look like some weird monstrosity chest. Alright, so now it's, when you play, you just got a normal chest, you walk up to it, doesn't do anything yet. Okay, so one of the first things we want to do is click on trigger, and we want to make it interactable. So click the check button on interactable. Now when you walk up to the chest, you should, boom, there you go, you get interact with it, so you can click the F button. Alright? What's next? One of the things we want to do is make this networked, right? Let's go ahead and enable, right click on chest folder and enable networking. This will allow us to interact with it in the world. Okay, so it has to be networked for this stuff to work. And then when you put everything in, and all the children of the chest folder, if you make the chest folder networked, all the children will become networked, and this is what we need to do here. Okay, so let's go to chest. Let's bring this back up. Okay, let's start working on the script, right? So let's grab some documentation. I'll show you how I find things for the most part, because I don't remember half this stuff. So I'm constantly on the documents to remember how to do this stuff. So I basically just typed in triggers, trigger, and it brings me to this page. Gives you a brief description of trigger, an invisible and non-colliding core object which fires events when it interacts with people, basically other objects or players. Okay, and then there's tons of events we can use: end overlap, begin overlap, interactive event. And the interactive event, in this example, the trigger has the interactable checkbox turned on, which is the one we did. So when the player walks up to the trigger and interacts with it with the F key, they are propelled into the air. So we're not going to do that, obviously, but we're going to open the chest with the F key. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to paste this here. So this is the connect event, right? So we're connecting. Let me explain this here. So this is connecting the on-interacted function, which we haven't created yet, and we can put whatever we want in this function. We're going to create that function, but we're connecting the on-interacted function to the interacted event that is being called on trigger, okay? And trigger, we rename this trigger to match this trigger, basically. So if we were going to rename this and say my trigger, right? My trigger, that's fine, we can do that, but then we have to rename this to my trigger, okay? Because this here is referencing our trigger, and this is a variable. This is just holding the reference that we dragged. So we dragged the trigger into here, that makes a reference, then we copied it and put it into here, and this is the location in the world, this is the location of the trigger, and this is what we're calling it, so that instead of having to type out, we could just type this out every time. You know, here we could type this out every time, but who wants to do that? So this is saving all of this into just a name called my trigger, so that all we have to do is call my trigger, obviously. So basically what you're doing is this, right? But who wants to write that? That's way too much. So we can access it through my trigger. All right, enough about that. So we need to create the function on interacted. So let's go ahead, function, right? And then we're going to go on interacted. And then if we look at the documentation, I think it's here. Yeah. So again, you can call this whatever you want. You just have to change it here. Whatever's in here has to match here. So it needs two arguments. It needs the trigger and it needs the player. So let's give them that. So, and you can call these whatever you want as well. I'm gonna stick with what they had: the trigger and player. Oop, player. If you wanted to, you could shorten it to player. Whatever you want. You can, like I said, you can name them whatever you want. Player. Okay, so I guess I can explain this a little more. So when this connect gets called by the interactive event, the computer system core sends this function here. It sends it to objects. It gets a reference to the trigger, basically the trigger that was just interacted with, and it gets a reference to who, the player, which player interacted with that trigger, so that we can use that. And we're not gonna deal with the player, but we are going to deal with the trigger. I think maybe later on in this video, but for now we won't even have to deal with that. Let's just do let's get a reference to chest closed, right? And that's the object here, big chest closed, which we have here. So let's set its visibility to equal visibility dot force off. Okay, so when we press the F key, we're basically making that invisible. Okay, let's just save that and show you what happens. All right, so we're gonna walk up to it and press F. It's invisible, right? And what we want to do, we want to make it invisible because now we want to show the one that's open, right? And then voila, you have a chest animation that's opening. And I'm going to copy this because I'm lazy. And so chest open dot visibility is going to be equal to visibility dot inherit. And you can use inherit because its parent is visible, or you could just say force on, right? Somewhere. FORCE underscore on. That should work. Save it and then run it. And there you go. So it's hiding the chest that's closed object and then just showing the chest that's open object, and that's it. Real simple. But that's one cool way that we can interact with triggers. There's many other things we can do. Let's see. Is there anything else I could show you real quick? Chest. We could do... I think that's it for today. Let's wrap up with that, and we'll come back and do something different next time with some triggers. Leave something in the comment, leave a like, a thumbs up, and if you want to see anything specific about triggers, let me know, and I'll try to make a video about it.